All right, so let's talk about AJAX and WordPress, because this has always been something that I have found challenging and not very clear, and based on my searching, trying to figure this out, it's also evident that lots of other people struggle with this. So let's just see if I can't help give a real life example of what I'm trying to do with AJAX and how I solved it and the things that you need to look for. And hopefully this will be a great video to reference for maybe even myself in the future. So, because again, I don't do a whole ton of AJAX, and maybe I should, because I think it's pretty dang sweet. And this seems super simple, right? You just check a box and it saves without the server having to, reload or refresh the page. That's pretty awesome. Well, the server doesn't refresh the page, but any action that you would usually take would have to refresh the page, but now we no longer have to do that. So let's get into it. How do we do this? So I'm going to do my best at describing what we need to do, and I might not be perfect at understanding everything, but I have a pretty good grasp of it. So the first thing that we need to do in order to make AJAX work within WordPress is you've got to hook up to their special script to run it through the way that they want you to do it. And so what that means is we've got this localized script, and that accepts kind of like a name or an identifier, and that really needs to match the name of our script that we're wanting to use the AJAX within, the AJAX call. And so what happens here is we give this like an object, right? And this object will be used later and within this script file, and that object is also going to have some properties. That's where this gets a little weird, right? Like this function localized script has these three things, and in here the third one's like an array, and you can pass other things in there, but what it's really looking for is the URL. And this is important for WordPress to do its thing. You need to hit this admin ajax.php file in order for WordPress to do AJAX the way it wants to do it. This is the part that I'm like, okay, sure, we've got to do it this way, and that's the way they expect it. I don't really understand this, so there's probably more learning that I can do, but for the most part, that's the setup. So these two things need to match. The file, the script that you're running the AJAX from, so we can go take a look at that really quickly. Pretty simple. Using JavaScript, doing the action that's going to fire the AJAX request, and then right here, this is the object. Here's the property on it or whatever, and so here's that same object. Here's that property that points to that URL. So once you have that all set up, then it's a matter of, okay, what happens once I successfully make that AJAX request? So this is like the URL. It wants you to use WordPress's URL, if you will, to make that request. And so it could be a post, or the type could be post or get, doesn't matter. But then really what you want is, okay, what's the data back here? And that's where this part gets a little interesting. Like, you need this action. We need to have an action here to know what happens when this request is made. So, and I don't get it, right? Okay, so like we've got a string. Like, how am I supposed to know that's a function? I don't know. I didn't know that. Like, so this is a function. So when that request is made, we come back over here and here's the name of our function. But technically, that name of the function, I just happen to name it the same. We're saying, hey, AJAX is going to do something. It's going to be looking for this certain function or string, and that's what that is right here. So this name right here, this hook, needs to match what our action is here in the AJAX request, okay? So once those two things match, now the difference between these two here is one means you're logged in, one doesn't mean, another means that you're not logged into WordPress. So I just put them both there because why not? You could probably do without the one, but just to make sure that everything was working no matter what, I wanted that to happen. So this is the special hook that you need, that needs to match. But then after that, this is just, I kept this all the same name so I knew what to expect or what to look for. But really, when this runs, go ahead and run this function. And then this function does all my checks. So that really comes in here, and here we've got the post. Well, what was the post? Well, the post was, this type, and then the posts are actually all the other things passed within this data attribute, and that could come from things inside the form, like maybe things that you're checking. It could be stuff that isn't even in a form. You could just pass these as, properties and values, and that comes along with the request. So I added some things. I wanted to get the PIN number, the task number, and then just to say, hey, is this checked or not, so I can do something with it. So then once that happens, then in this function, you really just do whatever you want to do that the server is going to execute and then automatically happen on the front end for you. So in this case, I just wanted to update the user meta. So I went and got the current user ID, grabbed what I wanted, like, hey, did we get any user meta? Just do a simple check, and then checked which task. I mean, I guess we don't really need to get into all the user meta per se, but mostly how the AJAX works. The last really important part here is after you run this function, you need to die. We need to exit. Any type of AJAX request, we don't want that to, for some reason, continue on and cause errors. So that's the only other big gotcha with the whole AJAX. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So again, you've got your script that's going to do any type of AJAX request. This could be the entire script, the entire JavaScript for your whole theme if you wanted. Whatever that JavaScript file is named for here, it needs to match this. This is again your object, and then your method to go make that call. And then the function that gets executed when that hits. So it's really just kind of matching up these names, and that was all there really was to it. I know that seems super simple, but I just had the hardest time with it, and I was just so happy to make it work. So hopefully that helps somebody. The WordPress docs, they tried to break up the examples, and that was really hard to follow. I just wished I had one simple working example of all the pieces all in one place. And I can provide I actually made something like that, so I'll drop that maybe in the description there with a link to a little, whatever you call that, a gist or something. So yeah, hopefully that was useful and helped somebody out. All right.